Hello everyone, this is my third test video. I'm still trying to test the quality and the sound and all of that, but I'm gonna try to complement the video that I did before, the one when I had like a priority list and I was casting all the spells in Affliction, so I could show you how things would run when you're actually fighting a boss or whatever. So I'm gonna complement this one because that one was fairly short on the information I was providing, and I'm gonna try providing some more stuff on this one. I made a list, I had a list here, so I'm gonna try not forgetting anything. Okay, so let's start with the spec and the talents. We're talking about Affliction. The spec, as you can see, well, it doesn't change that much. There's some people that use different things here. As you can see, I use 2 points on Improved Drain Soul. It's a personal option. I do know that I generate a lot of threat, and that kind of helps me. Especially on pugs. On raids, on guild raids, I don't have that many problems. Only occasionally on some bosses, but on pugs, depending on the tank, sometimes it's a mess. Some people rather spend the 2 point here on the improved life tap, but then there's something that doesn't make much sense to me, which is they usually don't use this combo where you use the Dark Pact combined with the improved Fell Hunter. So what's this combo about? When you use the 2 points here on the improved Fell Hunter, he regenerates, he gets mana back every time he hits a mob. And the Dark Pact works pretty much like a life tap. It's pretty much the same thing. It's like you have 2 life taps. So the big advantage of this Dark Pact is that when you use it, of course you don't lose any HP, you're just taking the mana out of the Fell Hunter. So on some bosses, some particular bosses, you can benefit from the fact that you can take mana without losing any HP. What I'm talking about is bosses with auras that make you a ton of damage. A fairly simple example, a Nubarak, 25 man, heroic on Talk. It's one of those places when on the third phase everyone is complaining that they don't have mana and blah blah blah, and you just take the mana out of the Fell Hunter and things work just fine. But that's just an example. There's plenty of bosses with auras that hurt you, and sometimes you want to life tap, you need mana back and you need to hold, and you just benefit from this. So yeah, this is what I use. I do plenty of heroics, plenty of 25 man raids, so I benefit from it. I already seen people with improved life tap, as I said, but then they don't have the Dark Pact. Well, okay, I respect their options. That's probably their play style, and I'm pretty sure they benefit from something out of it as well, because at least they have bigger life taps. Okay, so moving on. I mentioned on the other video that on the other video I recall mentioning about the execute phase, but I went really brief about it. I just said like a couple of things. Basically what the execute phase means is from 35% and downwards on the boss HP, you get a buff. You get a benefit taken out of this talent, this Death Embrace. So from this moment on, you start getting an increased buff on all the damage that you do on the boss. So what's the objective of the execute phase? You keep casting everything like I showed you on the other video, and your filler cast is the Shadow Bolt. When you don't have anything else to cast, no dots to put up, you just throw Shadow Bolts. But when you let it go down till 25%, you're gonna replace the Shadow Bolt with the Drain Soul. Okay, so and why is that? Let me try to demonstrate if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, what happens with Drain Soul is when it's from 25% health and down on the boss HP, it does 4 times the damage that normally does. So you just replace as the filler spell the Shadow Bolt, you replace it with the Drain Soul, because the Drain Soul will make more damage than any Shadow Bolt you could throw at it. Okay, it's a channeled spell, it works with ticks, so my advice is for you to have a mod that show you when the Drain Soul ticks. If you can check exactly when it ticks, and you might need to cast another dot that just finished and you want to cast it again, you just wait for the tick to go off and you cast it. Let me try giving you an example of that. Maybe I can show you what I use so you can understand what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, I'll just pass on the next point, and I'll just show you the Drain Soul later on while I'll go to some target dummies. The other point is the question about haste. Haste and trinkets basically are something that you need to combine. Haste on Affliction is really good because of the of this glyph that you need to use, glyph of quick decay. What this glyph does is, the more haste you have, the more damage you get out of the corruption. As you can see, it reduces the time between periodic damage clicks on your corruption spell. So the more haste you have, the more clicks you're gonna get out of the corruption. It's really good because you just need to stack as much haste as you can, so you get to a point where your corruption all by itself does more damage than any other spell that you cast, especially on boss fights or on fights where you have several mobs to hit with the corruption. It's just mad, okay? It gets to a point where nothing can reach the corruption and the corruption does most of your damage. So you need to stack haste as much as you can. I don't think there's actually a real limit. There's a soft cap, I'm pretty sure of it. I'm not sure how much. I know that I'm around at the moment at 1139 self-buffed, and I could have more easily. I'm pretty sure I could get to like 1500, okay, and still benefit from it for the corruption. So I think you should invest on it and have a go at it. Stack as much as you can, so you can look for trinkets that benefit you on the haste, that can give you some haste, and there are some for people that raid 25 man. One good example is this one, is the dislodge for an object. This is the heroic version, the level 277 epic, but there's a normal version which is also quite good. If I'm not mistaken, it drops from Rotface. Yeah, it drops from Rotface inside ICC 25. As you can see, it gives you 170 haste, and it has a proc that increases your damage on your spells. It's one of the best trinkets for locks at the moment. The global internal cooldown of it's 45 seconds, which is fairly short. You can use it a lot of times. You end up proccing it a lot of times on boss fights. The other trinket that I recommend, but usually it's a bit harder to get, it's this. Pardon my English. I'm not sure how to spell this, how to say this, but I'm pretty sure it's Phylactery of the Nameless Lich. Okay, this one increases your critical strikes, and then it gives you a buff of 1200 spell power for 20 seconds on the heroic version. The normal version is a bit lower, but it's still really good. This trinket, it's quite useful for Affliction, yeah, no questions about it, but it's also very good for Demonology, especially for the raid buff. You just buff people a lot with like 600, 700 spell power for everyone, depending on how much spell power you have yourself. But when you get to my level of gear, it's around that. There's sometimes I look at the bonus damage and I'm around 6,000, and the maximum I've seen was 7,078 spell power, which is a lot, and translates on around 700 spell power buff for everyone in the raid. So yeah, it's good. I recommend it. If you're starting Affliction and if you're starting to gear up, there's another trinket that I recommend. It's a trinket that drops from the last boss on Pit of Sauron Heroic, and it's called, let me see if I can recall it, it's the Never Melting Ice Crystal. Okay, what does that trinket does? Let me see if I can show it to you. I think I have it on the bank. Let me just take a look at it. The trinket drops from the last boss, like I said, on Pit of Sauron Heroic, and works on the following way. I think it increases your spell power, and then it has a use ability, and when you use it, it increases your critical strike by a lot, a ton, and every time you crit one, it will reduce it until the proc just fades away and just disappears. Now, the good thing is, this is the interesting part.